Hello, good day everyone. My name is Hussein Atwailib. I'm part of the Couchbase Analytics engineering team. Today, we'll be going through a short demo for reading data from Azure Blob Storage, a new feature for analytics service in Couchbase Server 7.1. We will start by a brief explanation of the entities involved in the process of reading from Azure Blob Storage. Then we will go through an example for reading data from the external store. So let's get started. To read data from Azure Blob Storage, we need to perform two steps. First, we need to create a link. A link acts as the entity responsible for pointing to the external data source and providing any required authentication. Second, once the link is created, we proceed to create an external analytics collection on the link. The analytics collection points to the data location to read from in the data source. So let's start by creating the link. The Couchbase Analytics service supports creating the link from the Couchbase CLI, REST API, or the Workbench UI. We will be using the Workbench UI in this example. First, let's click on the option to add a remote link. Let's supply in the link name. Let's call it My Azure Link. From the link type options, select Azure Blob Link. Supply in the endpoint for your Azure Blob Storage. Then select the desired authentication method. The supported authentication methods are anonymous authentication. This is where no credentials are provided, so no authentication is performed. The shared key authentication. This is where the account name and the account key are used for authentication. The shared access signature is where you use your shared access signature token for authentication. The managed identity ID is an authentication that is used if your application is running on an Azure instance, and the client secret and the client certificate authentications are used for Azure Active Directory authentication. In this example, we will be using the shared key authentication. So let's supply in our account name and our account key. After supplying the required information, I click Save to create the link. And now we have our Azure Blob link called My Azure Link created. Now that we have successfully created our link, let's proceed to create a collection on our link. Click on the option to add a collection on our Azure Blob link. Let's fill in the information. First, the collection name. Let's call it My Azure Collection. Next, let's apply the bucket name. The bucket name represents the container where your data resides in the Azure Blob Storage. For the sake of this example, I have prepared a container called CBus Playground, where I have placed some beer sample documents. Next is the path. The path represents the prefix where your data resides inside your container. I placed my beer sample data under JSON data beer sample. Next, let's select the file format. The supported formats are JSON, CSV, and TSV. In this case, I'm reading JSON data, so let's select the JSON option. Let's leave the include and the exclude fields empty, as we don't want to apply any filters on our data. Then click Save to create the collection. And now we see that we have successfully created a collection that is pointing to data residing in the Azure Blob Storage. Now that we have created our link and our collection, let's start running some queries. First, let's start with a simple query. I would like to confirm that I am returning the correct number of records. The beer sample data that I have uploaded contains 7,303 documents. So let's make sure we are returning the correct number of documents. And now we see the result we have is returning the correct number. Let's run another query to see the actual data of the documents. And now we see the result of the documents that I have uploaded. Now, this beer sample actually contains two parts. One is the beer part and the other is the brewery part. So let's add another where clause just to make sure that this is working as intended. Now my query is returning only the beer documents for me. And let's confirm that by doing a count star for the beer only. And we see that we have less number of documents as this data is representing the beer only. In conclusion, we have shown in this short demo how we use the Couchbase Analytics service to create a link to Azure Blob Storage, then create a collection on that link and read our data directly from Azure Blob Storage. Thanks for watching.